All right, guys, welcome to Alive here in Carlsbad. And I got a special guest today, all the way from Atlanta, Georgia. We got Letticia McKinley in the building. What's up, Letts? You doing all right?
I'm doing.
Oh, they won't stop clapping. Oh, it's a big deal. I love it. Hey, so thank you so much for coming out. It's been a great day today, learning and just kind of seeing. There's some things that like we can talk about. We've been talking about working on as in building a business, but to see your training and how relatable it is, and how you can see light bulbs going off in people's like faces, and I was going, damn, like. When you put it like that, I remember Shalene texts me and she goes, "Hey, can I get Leticia's number?" She goes, I like her, and like, thank you for, because like she was debating on like, hey, do I come, do I not dial? Because all work related stuff. I was like, should I dial here? If I drive there, I'm missing two. Like, I got it. But she goes, the value that I got out today couldn't even equate to 5-10 appointments that I was looking to book.
Wow.
During that time. So it's big stuff. And today, what I really want to get in and dive into is, you're a back-to-back Hall of Fame producer, the first, all right, woman of color. I don't know how many, I don't know how many women there were before. You're definitely in the top 5 women, right? They had got to be top 5, 10 women ever, but definitely the first woman of color. And you're like, well, what does that mean? Well, I don't know if Jackie knew what it meant when he did it, but we know what it meant now. Does that make sense? I think, and if you don't know who Jackie is, I'm sorry, it went over your head. I'm not going to explain. But it's just, if you know, if you don't, it's okay, But I think at the time, I don't know if you really knew what was going on. But now the track, like even I think about myself and, Mark Mead leading the way with integrity. Like it like led the way. And I was like, dude, like I believe. Like, not to say I didn't believe before I could do it, but I definitely believe now. It's like I ended up at NC State purely because Marcus Jones, a guy who I knew, went there. Right? So I always thought, like, growing up in baseball, I wasn't surrounded by a lot of folks who looked like me. You look at insurance space, it's not a lot of people who look like us. It's just not. You know what I mean? There's no this is not a good bad. This is a reality.
True.
Okay? This is a reality of it all. But I chose to go to NC State because Marcus went there. I didn't really know Marcus, but I knew we played on the team together and I knew he looked like me. So I was like, sweet. And I see Family First Life growing to the point to where it's like, I think early on, we've always been crazy diverse. That's the cool thing about Family First. But it's starting to get crazy in a good way to where it doesn't really matter, you know what I mean, how you're coming in, what your background is, if you relate to the person or whatnot. Because when it comes to selling insurance, our clients are the same. The leads are the same. And so what got me into this business isn't who I learned from in this business, is what I'm trying to say. Is that like Marcus got me to NC State. He wasn't my coach. He didn't decide whether he put me in the game or not. Nothing like that. Marcus is also the person who led me to life insurance sales. Marcus didn't teach me much about insurance. You know what I mean? Marcus quit, came back, quit again, came back again. And I think right now he's in the process of maybe quitting. Does that make sense? And but he'll be back because that's the way it goes. I say it's funny and not funny all at the same time. Hopefully you're watching, dude. I love you. Come back. I'll see you soon. But it's but what got you somewhere isn't really your end all be all. And I think that you coming in, being the first not African American, woman of color. Don't call a Jamaican African American. Okay, by the way, she was about to slap me in the podcast room. So, but being the first, you had to learn. You didn't learn from folks with your background. You didn't learn from folks with your struggle. And struggle doesn't make one worse or better. It's just your struggle. Your struggle is yours. Makes sense? Sean's was his. Mike Killiman's was his. Jake Conan's was his. Does it make one stronger than the other or worse? No. It's theirs. But you found a way in this space, all right, as a woman of color to learn from everybody. All right. And I hear you talking today. It was Paul McLean. I was like, not only do you talk to folks who aren't like you choose, like, they're definitely not like me. Makes sense? Like, you and Paul McLean is dude, like Victorville, Jamaica. Does that make sense? And then it's like Nick Ayala. I'm like, dude, Boca Raton, like, just, but it's you going, it doesn't really matter where they're from or what their deal is or what their background is. They're good at this.
100%.
And you don't look at stuff that Paul does or on the Monday morning wake ups or conversations going, that's just what he does. I can't do that. You actually do it. You didn't look at John Wetmore crazy when he said, man, I just walk in there and say, looks like you need some insurance, huh? You said, well, shoot, I'm going to do that too. You know, when a lot of folks go, well, that's not my personality. That's not me. You saw it differently. So I know I opened this thing up a little unorthodox, a little different. And you're like, where's he going with this? I'm going to let you take it over and just like, how did you find this train? Like, how did you get trained? How did you take things in? How did you not take things so personal that you believe that you couldn't do it based on who you are, where you come from, and where you want to go? Is this all making sense?
Yep, 100%.
All right, cool. I'm going to turn it over to you, but thank you so much. This is about to be fire. Take notes. It's all yours.
All right, so thanks for having me, Dom. Here in San Diego for the first time. Never been in Cali before. I used to live on the West Coast. Used to live in Arizona, and it's surprising that I've never been to Cali. But anyways, I'm here now. Right? It took me 12 years to come back to be back on the West Coast to be in Cali. So, just love being here so far. But when you talk about the fact that I just adapted, because
that's it. Yeah.
like literally, that's what I had to do was to adapt, right? When I first moved here from Jamaica, and I was living on the West Coast, when you talk about a vast difference, that was huge for me. And going from an island to now going to a desert, it's totally different, but I had to adapt there, right? So I think I think that for me, I've always learned to adapt, like literally, that's what I'm trying to get at, right? I've always learned to adapt to my situation, my circumstances, because you either adapt or you die, right? I'm Jamaican. I'm here in the United States. It's a totally different culture, totally different people, totally different mindset. It's totally different in every way, shape, and form. And normally, typically, since I've been here, most of the time, it's just been, myself. I didn't really have much immediate family here. Yes, I had family here and there that I could reach out to back up north and whatnot, but pretty much it was literally me by myself, right? So I had to learn how to adapt to my circumstance. And I think when you're talking about this conversation, what I remembered, what came into my head was Mike Killamette, and he says it all the time in every training. Like every training, Mike Killamette talks about the fact that he heard me on the phone booking the appointment in a Southern accent. And he was like, "Is that the Jamaican girl?" He literally had to come out of his office and look to see if it was really the Jamaican girl booking the appointment in a Southern accent, right? So for me, it wasn't hard for me. Like I've just always learned that, like, I have to adapt to my circumstances. I have to adapt to what people are comfortable with. I have to adapt so that I can be more relatable to people.
There we go.
Right? Because if you don't adapt to your circumstances, then it's never gonna work. Right? It's like mixing oil with water, right? If you want to mix a Kool-Aid, you got to get a little Kool-Aid, a little bit color, mix it with a little water, the sugar, mix it up, and perfect. It works, but you can't just mix the oil with the oil with the water. It doesn't work. It's not gonna work that way, right? So I always knew that. I don't know how I had that mindset, but I've always knew that in order to survive, really, right? Because when I first came here by myself, That's all it was. It was
Okay,
me surviving.
let's hit because that's it's survival. You know what I mean? And I think when you get into a new business or something different, you go to what's comfortable, right? And you may have something, but it's like, dude, when you're in survival mode, it's like, I'm going to adapt or, like you said, die. It's like, or you could be stuck in your ways, right? And go, nah, that's not me. Nah, I don't do that. Now, anything that was unethical, immoral things, I get all that. Be you, okay? But if it's doing the right thing, if it's not breaking the law, it's ethical, it's within your beliefs, then why not do it? Does that make sense? And none of your changes, or you doing the Southern accent, that wasn't against your belief. That wasn't. Nah, man. It may not be you 24/7, because that would be weird if you called your mama up and she'd be like, "What you doing?"
Right.
but for the time, for what you're doing, you have to learn how to adapt. You have to. This may be a stupid example, but I was at a 4-year-old birthday party a couple weeks ago, and my wife, she's funny. Like she's real big on behavior. Okay, like that's her thing. Like no doubt. Like I'm a behavior study. So she goes, there was Elsa there from Frozen. Okay, a fake Elsa, a real Elsa. Okay, so my wife was like, if I was Elsa, I would have way more energy than that. I would walk in here like, hey, this is so beautiful, and I was like, you know what? You would,
Right.
and you know what? This Elsa.
And
Like to a 4-year-old, okay, but like she could be a lot better. You know what I'm saying? And like I don't even know where I was trying to get at with that story, but but there was some relation. All right, I totally lost track. What were we talking about before that? What was the? I was like, dude, Elsa, 4-year-old birthday party. But
example.
I think yeah, exactly. Was like just the example of like giving it your all and being that person. Be like, well, that's not her all the time. I know, but at least for 2 hours, it could have been her.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? For Elsa, for 2 hours, she could have been frozen, doing her thing. But after that, all good. She could hate kids.
And it would it would have made a difference.
Yes.
Like your daughter would have seen her more like the actual Elsa
Yes.
versus just being like, oh, who's this lady?
Oh, she
She's
looked
not
like
Elsa.
her? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, she kind of looks like her. But if she was floating around doing her, but but adapt. Right? Now, in her scenario, it's a little different. You know what I mean? It's not life or death. But I'm pretty sure if she wants to do this thing for the long haul, my wife ain't the first person to say that. You know what I mean? Just not.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So what is it that you are what's the most empowering thing? You said survival, right? What empowered you to just keep it going, right? To keep it going, like to even start in commission-based sales. Because did you have an intention of being commission-based sales when you came to this country?
No. So when I did my research, when I was thinking of a career path to go on, I was thinking of going to marketing, sales manager.
Okay.
Right. So I knew it was something with sales because I literally Googled what are the top paid careers in the United States. And it was a sales manager, it was dentist, lawyer, blah, blah, blah. But sales manager was like up in the top 5. And I was like, okay, I'm good with people. I like sales. So I think I'm going to go down that route. But it was after my mom visited me because she would visit me from Jamaica to Atlanta, go back home, visit me, go back home. We just had a conversation one day, and she was like, "Why don't you try insurance sales?" I don't know how she came up with that. I don't know how that happened, but she was the one that asked me about it. And after she said that, I was like, why not?
Right.
Right? And so I was before insurance, I was a customer service rep at a call center, just making an hourly wage at a call center, not a lot. And I was actually processing claims for insurance agents. So I would be the person that the actual client will call to process their mortgage payments or whatever over the phone.
Right.
Right. And I did that for a while. And I was like, there has to be something else that I could do with my, with my life versus just being at the call center. I went to university, and I was like, there has to be something else that I could do. And so after my mom talked about that, I looked at a few different options. There was actually a company that was literally in the same building that the call center was in. And so I applied there and I didn't get a job. And it was an insurance company.
Wow.
Yeah, they turned me down. I was like, I had the first interview, second interview. I thought everything was going good. Turned me down, right? And then I was like, okay, let me look at other companies. And that's when I founded FFL, and I founded another company as well at around the same time. And then I was like, let me go to the other company first because it was closer to where I live. It was literally 3 minutes. It was like on the same road that I lived on. And I was like, okay, if it doesn't work out, that's fine. At least I'll go there and I'll get the experience. And then I'll probably look into this other FFL company, right? So I went there. The people there were awesome. They were really nice, um, very family oriented. Like, the guy that ran it had his nephew. So it was, had a family feel. It was really good. But we were cold calling. It was low comp. And then the fact that the comp was like 40%, and then we had to split that 40% with another agent because that other agent was carrying us out in the field. And so if we made a sale, the sale was to be split 50-50. So
you're making 25%.
So I'm making like 20-something%. Think about 20-something% comp.
Man.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
And I was like one of the top performers there, making 20-something% comp, and getting all these trophies and stuff. And I'm just like, I'm not making no money. Like, I'm getting all these accolades, but I'm not making no money, right? And so when it was time, I think I had interviewed, and I had actually interviewed with John a few weeks before, a few months before I left. But when it was time, I was like, yeah, it's time. And they were like, you know what, Letticia, you're just never gonna do any better anywhere else, blah, 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 blah. It was that type of, like, it was like a bad relationship I was trying to get out of. Like, they did not want to let me go.
It was very family when you came in, and then changed out.
Right.
Got it.
Right. And so, then I left, and then I came to FFL, and then I started here, and then, John told me that I could start at a 75 at that time. And I was like, oh, wow, that's a huge difference. Right off the bat, I know I'm going to make way more than 20% right? So, and then I started here on my journey here at FFL.
And that was what year?
That was late 2016, like towards the end of the year, maybe November, December, around that time.
Okay. And Hall of Fame, when you first heard about it, right? When you first heard about it, was it something that you had your eyes set on when you heard? Like, what? It was 2016, first year at FFL.
2017 was my first.
17, and then
year.
What was the first
Hall of Fame year? 2019.
19. Mm-hmm. So 17, later. 18. Just and be clear, it's not Hall of Fame or bust. All right, be clear. You were making more than you were doing less than Hall of Fame, right? What happened to where you started to believe that, man, I could do that? And not only can I do it, I could help and teach people to do it. But let's start with you doing it. Where did that belief come from? Because I earlier you were like, man, there wasn't very many people who look like me that I can relate to. Like, I was talking about Marcus. Like, I can look at Marcus going to NC State and be like, oh, sweet. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Cool. Like, I know you ain't going to be the coach or whatnot, but at least I know that, like, we can do well at NC State if you're there. All right. And I didn't know that. That's the type of logic that folks use. Like, I think that's like old school logic too. That's like Neanderthal type of stuff. Like, okay, you look like me. Like, cool. I'm gonna go over there with you. It's like this, but I think that's in us as humans. You didn't have that per se. You know what I mean? 16, 17, my mom was selling. I know that. Okay. But other than that, that was a level that you were trying to supersede. You know what I mean? We had guys doing or whatnot. So what did that look like for you in that belief level of you first hearing about Hall of Fame and then you going, I can do what those guys and girls are doing?
Yeah. No, that was not my intention at all. Was to make 400,000 a year. It was nowhere near my thought process when I first got here. It's really cool that we can talk about that now. People coming in,
Yeah.
that, hey, we can help 400 families. You can have 400 families. You can have 400 families. We didn't even. I don't think we even talked about it like that. We were talking about just helping 20 families a month, 20 families a month, 20 families a month. And I remember when I saw the ad on ZipRecruiter, that's how I was hired, and I saw on the ad that Jeremy had, it was like, make 250,000 a year. And so when I first came in my first year, I did like 220 something, almost 230. I was like, oh my gosh, what they said was real. I could actually do that.
Right.
So that was my goal, right? But it was after my second year, seeing other people do it. I think Zach T or a few other people that came in after me that hit it.
Mm.
And I was like, I mean, I know he's different from me, but no, you're not really different. Like, for me, I don't have to have a belief in others because I believe in a higher power. Like, I'm very religious, right? I'm a very religious person. I believe in God. So I know that I can achieve anything. Doesn't matter who you are, what you are, where you come from, where your background is, who you have as, whoever. It doesn't matter to me because I know that, if I'm a good person and I'm doing what I need to do, God will make a way. He's made a way for me here, you know, and there's no way that he would not continue to if I put my mind to it, right? So that was my belief, just believing in myself, believing in God, and believing that it doesn't matter, what it is, who it is, as long as I believe in myself, it can happen.
Mm. That is so big. When some external things could move you, but it's what you believe that will keep you going. Like seeing Zach or some other people got your attention,
Mm-hmm.
but it was your belief that this ain't an accident.
Correct.
And I'm not just seeing this, I could do this. And I think when that happens, you don't need somebody who looks like you, talks like you, it don't matter. God made us all equal.
Period.
That's the point of this podcast, is that there isn't a difference, and that our perceived ways of getting information or historically or your perspective, and I'd say they're not all right, and I think that we need to be more open to taking signs and moments from others and go, I can do it too. It's one thing Sean is so good at, and it's crazy, but I believe that I could run a company of 20,000 agents and and help 30,000 families a month. Like, I believe that. And the reason is because he doesn't make it seem like it's a thing that he can do only. And it doesn't matter black, white, baseball, football, you were in, you did sales before, you worked at McDonald's. It don't matter. Do you believe that you can do it? And if you can, you can. And if you believe it's not all in your control too. I think that's the biggest thing. You kind of, I don't want to preach at nobody or to somebody. I'm not qualified for that. But I do know things don't happen on accident. And I think, you showing that was that you doing it not just once, but doing it twice. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't just, 19, I was inspired. And God, I appreciate you giving me the confidence. I'm going to go out there and run this again. You know what I mean? I'm going to go out there and run this again. You know what I mean? And I'm going to inspire more people to do the same thing. And that's the kicker with this. And it's not about an override. It's not about growing. Yeah, we all want to grow a team, help more people. But I had a guy the other day, he goes, man, I want to, I think you'll be able to relate more to me. You think I could switch teams? I was like, bro, I'm going to help you out regardless. What you mean? And I tried to act dumb like I didn't know. What you mean? Like, I'll relate better to you. Like, what you mean? And he was like, well, I was like, nah, dude, I don't know. I don't know, man. My dude, Sean Mike from Connecticut, a lot different than the Bay Area, California. A lot different. Like with you started off with John Wetmore from Boston, from Mass. Come on now. And he is different.
Way different.
Okay? Like it is not just like, oh yeah, he from Boston. Like, no. He's different in a good way. But you got to be like, oh, okay. Oh, okay. Got it. Oh, you didn't really oh, got it. That's your joke? Got it. Okay, that was a terrible joke, but I love you. You know what I mean? But that's not what it's all about, is do we mesh on every level? It's at the core, do we believe in the same things? Like what you said, if I just do the right thing, and I think we could end with this, and I'm gonna let you wrap it up. But when you said, if I'm just doing the right thing, and I'm not trying to hurt nobody, God's got me. And that's some powerful stuff. I mean, crazy powerful. And that's one thing I said, I'll make a lot of mistakes. I'm trying to make less. But in my heart of hearts, when I know, and only you can know this, only you, if I know that it wasn't intentional, I wasn't trying to hurt nobody's feelings, I wasn't trying to offend anybody, I wasn't trying to. Doesn't mean you won't offend people, doesn't mean you won't say the wrong thing. We talk about this all the time. Like, It's not about what you say, it's how they hear you. But I know that if my heart's in the right place, eventually my mouth and words and actions will catch up. And I believe God knows that. I believe God knows that, like, dude, you're giving it your all, dude. You missing, but you trying. Does that make sense? Like, and but you got to keep going though. But you can't just sit back and pray on it and not work. It's one thing you do. You don't do that. It's not like, oh, I got all this faith, but I just believe God's just gonna do it for me. No. Just sit back and take the wheel. Like, y'all take the wheel way too much. You ghost riding your life right now. Like, what are you doing? Like, you got to take the wheel. You know what I mean? He's given us the ability to make these decisions, these abilities to, like Shalene today, she made a choice today. God gave her that ability to make the choice to come here. Does that make sense? Now, and I think that, man, we could go on for this for a minute, but it's massive. And you don't need to be crazy, I'll be clear. I'm not nowhere near, like I said, qualified, but belief does not have to come with qualifications. Does that make sense? It doesn't have to come with, what makes you believe that? Or why do you? Because I do. Because I do. And believing is better than not believing. I tell you that. You'd be like, how you know it works? Because I know not doing it doesn't work. I just know that. You know what I mean? It's hard to be positive when you don't have that beacon. When you don't have that, it will work. And that's one thing Sean and his company has always put at the forefront. So I'm gonna let you wrap it up, Let's. Thanks for the insight, intel, and
yeah, I'll just wrap it up with, God helps those that help themselves. My mom used to always preach that to me. God helps those who helps themselves. So it's the same with this business. If you're going out there grinding, doing what you should be doing, helping families, I think he'll always find a way, right? You always find a way.
May not be right when you want it or when you feel you need it,
but it will come.
But it's coming. So, thanks again, Let's. That was fire. Thank you guys for having us on. Peace out.